it sounds like what you're saying is that we need to be the only ones living inside our skins, instead of having all of our ancestors and their stories also clunking around in our heads and creating all of these illnesses. Is that accurate, do you think?
Beautifully put, beautifully put. And the stories that we write about their stories, you follow, we include ourselves in the stories. We almost victimize ourselves like, well, that's, it's probably headed my way because that's what I witnessed. Not only did we see the disease conditions or the shortcomings or what have you, we also began to perceive that as our destiny. And when that is set in place, we start to make it so, just because we've been believing in it. And so we're wanting to establish ourselves as a true essential creator in this body, as the creative force itself, here to transcend or transmute these inadequacies or these insufficiencies that were believed in before us and before them and before them. So we're constantly awakening to a greater and greater degree, and each generation is furthering that. So the whole idea is, come into the core of your body. Use your body to stabilize your awareness. Build your awareness inside the core of your being so that you don't have to count on beliefs and stories and inherited ideas about what is possible and capable in order to have a sense of self and to have a sense of groundedness. Because it's also important that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because we also inherited some brilliance and some common sense and some deep wisdoms from our ancestors as well. So we don't want it to be an all or nothing, that we cut them off and just jump out here on our own. We want to be able to sort and sift through it and really cultivate and keep the good and release that which is no longer necessary. And the only way we can do that is to embody, because the body will help us make the distinctions about which ones are true and which ones are not. The body doesn't lie.
This seems like it would be a good time to ask, how can we begin working with our system's energy to allow for natural healing to occur?
So I do some basic foundational practices with the work that I teach called the energy codes, and that some basic foundational practices are always going to be anchor your consciousness in the body if you want to be able to make a change that is profoundly more comprehensive than your own genetic inheritance. And that's pretty potent. It's a pretty potent thing to say, and it's an amazing thing to experience. So we have to anchor in the body. Breathing up and down vertically through the body starts to activate a system differently than how we're used to breathing. We're used to just going on about our day and being distracted by all kinds of things and just breathing to stay alive, and we don't even think about it. But if we breathe in the belly, it starts to change everything, first of all, because it activates the creative resource instead of breathing in the upper lobes of the lungs, which activates survivorship. And if you're walking around living in survivorship all the time, you are going to deplete your system, and you will default into your genetic inheritance, and you will express the same conditions that your parents did, much more likely. But if you breathe in the lower lobes of the lungs, in a way that I'm going to describe, you're activating the creativity, the enhanced wellness and wholeness of your system. And your energy field becomes robust, and then the message that's coming to your cells is one of well-being, and so you don't ever have to default to your physicality. You're running on your energetic presence. You're an energy being. And so there's so much that I could say about all that. It's so fascinating that we are energy beings to the point that we don't even touch the ground when we walk. With the energy, when it is robust enough, the science is proving that we are walking on a pad of light that is between the foot and the earth as we know it. And so if we can keep that energy field robust, it also automatically suspends our joints from rubbing on each other. There's an energy pad between in the knee joint and in the hip joint, etc. And if the energy field is robust enough, we're not subject to that old hip problem that grandpa had. We're not subject to the knee issue that we've watched dad have or mom have her ankle issues all of her life. But if we let that energy field become less robust, then we default down to the pure physical expression, and those joints and those issues become true for us too. So anchoring our energy after breathing in the belly instead of the upper lobes of the lungs, anchoring our energy at the root of our body is also extraordinarily important. And so I do a practice that I've taught in several courses with the Shift Network, but I want to remind everyone that might be new in this program that it's so helpful for you to anchor the energy at the root of your spine, because it takes this huge energy field and starts to organize it and then anchors it right in your body. Then it has the ability to enhance and be robust inside the body and have all the effects that I'm describing. So how to do that is similar to a Kegel exercise. Ladies, you might know about that. Gentlemen, you might learn a little something about Kegel exercises right now so that we're all in this together. So it's similar to this. If you were going to the bathroom and you had to stop the stream instantly, you'd have to squeeze certain muscles to make that happen. And basically, you're activating musculature, energy, consciousness at the base of the pelvic bowl, and that's what we want. So it's going to feel a little differently to everyone who tries this initially, and eventually it will become easier and more automatic for you than when you initially are trying to do this. But right now, if you just squeeze these muscles in the base of the pelvic bowl and then kind of just lift the muscles of the perineum right there that you're working with up toward your heart, just kind of pull them up toward your heart. Just imagine it. Just work with that. Lean back against your spine and allow this whole channel to be open. When you lean forward too much, it kind of closes it down. So lean back comfortably against your own spine and contract these muscles at the base of the pelvic bowl and lift them up toward your heart. When you do that, you're anchoring energy at the root of your spine. Now belly breathe while you're there. If you're belly breathing and you're squeezing these muscles of Mula Bandha at the same time, you're starting to cultivate deep wisdom. And that deep wisdom is where we exponentially benefit from our ancestral inheritance. It's cultivated below the navel. The energies of your ancestors, the wisdoms that are there, that have been passed on generation after generation. This is the part where you're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. This is where you get to keep the good and discard that which is no longer serving you. By breathing in your belly, you're activating the wisdom center, and that is activating exactly the energies that have been inherited as the brilliant things that your ancestors did that got passed on, that allowed that strain, if you will, to survive. It allowed your lineage to continue because of the wisdoms of how to avoid danger, how to progress, how to take care of the self long enough to reproduce, to create new children, to carry on and carry on and carry on, all the way back in your lineage. So when you're anchoring at the root of your spine and you're breathing in the belly, you're bringing your consciousness right to the place where, I'm going to animate that which matters most. I'm going to animate the wisdom of my ancestors, and I'm going to breathe it into my whole system. So I'm breathing in the belly with Mula Bandha anchoring me there. Let me just take a moment and make sure that I review how to do Mula Bandha, because it's a very important process. For this to become rubber meets the road for you, and for you to be able to apply everything I'm talking about, we have to know how to do this piece, okay? So you're contracting the muscles at the base of the pelvic bowl. It's going to feel weird to you. You're going to wonder if you're even doing it. In the next 3 days, if you try to practice it 100 times a day, within, a week or so, 2 or 3 days, you're going to start to feel things that you haven't felt before. In fact, if you're ever spinning out in your head and you're worrying and wondering and doing all those things that we do, if you'll just Mula Bandha and start breathing in your belly, it will anchor your consciousness and be able to filter it through wisdom instead of through fear. All right? That alone will change everything if you've not already been functioning and working with this work. So now I want to add to that a breath from overhead, inhaling to your heart, let it feel good, let it be loving. You're just bringing light down into your body, high frequency potential energy, And you're going to exhale it right through this mula bandha and this wisdom center. And you're going to exhale and shoot it right down into the earth. And then you're going to take a deep breath in, up from the earth, through this mula bandha, right up through that wisdom center. Bring it all the way up to your heart, like you mean it, for you. It has to be for me too, like me. It's for you that you're doing this. That makes it or breaks it. It allows you to become the energy rather than just stay in your head and work with it. So let it feel good. I know if you're paying attention to how it feels, I know you're in your body. And that's one of the ways that we can always check to see, am I doing this, or am I in my head thinking I'm doing this? Okay? Let it feel good in the body while you're doing it, and you know you're on track. And so then you breathe that up to the heart and you exhale right back up at the top of the head. So you keep this central channel vertical breath happening in you. You keep Mula Bandha engaged, and your consciousness is on. I'm cultivating the wisdom from my ancestors. I'm bringing this to life. I'm not going to let this one slip me by. So many times people don't have any feeling sensation in the root of their body below the navel. They can't feel anything inside there. So maybe you lay on your back at night and do some leg lifts. Just raise your legs, or do some sit-up crunches, but leg lifts do it even more. So if you can't find that area tonight, lay on the floor beside your bed, do 25 leg lifts, and tomorrow morning you're going to know what I'm talking about, because you're going to feel those muscles. And you're going to think of me and you're going to be like, oh, but at least you're going to get in your body with this, and it's going to be well worth your time. So, you know, I really want people to understand that there is nothing broken, there is nothing wrong, there is nothing damaged that needs to be fixed or healed or completed. All that has to happen is we have to learn how to utilize the faculties that we already are made of. They've just been splattered and dispersed, and we're just not using them together in a synchronous way. And so the universal impulse that is trying to happen through you all the time, the conscious conversation that is happening cosmically, is trying to filter its way down through your system and express out through you as an amazing individual that's creative and whole and healed already. And so if we can just recognize that and remember that that is the truth of who we are, and that nature is on my side, the entire universe is on my side here, that we could relax a little bit and allow our true selves to come out a little more easily, that in itself begins to put the pieces back together again. And I'm certainly available to help you learn additional ways to speed that process and enhance your ability to experience your greatness whenever that would seem befitting for you. So it's my pleasure.
All right, beautifully put.